So Quentin,
Yep.
if I sell my house and I make a profit on it,
Yes.
that's going to be subject to the 3.8?
That won't be. There's a special exemption for houses, but if you were to get over that exemption amount and some of your gain became capital gain, then it would. If you were over the $250,000 of adjusted gross income. So my quick answer was no, and now as I talk it out, it could be. And that's kind of the way this works. Generally, the answer would be no, but it could be. The next three slides are just build on one another. The current one is our current tax structure that we have. So on your first $16,750 of income, we all pay a 10% tax on that. Of taxable income, we pay 10% tax on that. And then you can see as income goes up, each of those increments, the tax rates go up. This was enacted back in 2001 under the Bush administration as part of their economic plan back then. These rates are set to expire in 2011. So in 2011, we revert back to 2001 law for many reasons for tax purposes, and that's what our next slide shows. So you may be saying to yourself, Clinton, well, $250,000 of taxable income, that's a lot of income. Not sure that's going to affect me and my family. But it really does affect you and your family, because you can notice that 10% bracket at the very beginning is going to go up to 15. That's not a huge amount. It's only $800, 800 and some change. But taxes are going to go up. Or if you get up into the 100,000, you can notice the 25% bracket becomes a 28. The 28 becomes a 31. So the Obama administration's promise, or not promise, but their pledge to say we're not going to have additional taxes on people that make less than $250,000, we are going to have it, not as a result of that administration, but we are going to have that. We are going to pay more taxes in income tax just through this system. The Obama administration issues, well, every administration issues what's called a Green Book. It's the presidential plan for taxation each year. And in that, the Obama administration has said we want to keep these lower rates below the $250,000. We want to keep them where they are. The issue becomes budgetary, and so will that get passed? It may or may not. If it does not get passed, then this slide will happen, effective 7.5 months from now. Yeah, a little over 8 months from now. The last slide, and if you viewed these slides on a screen, they would appear as though they were just laying over each other. The last one indicates what will happen with that unearned tax in 2013. In reality, the numbers at the bottom will change somewhat because they're adjusted every year for inflation between now and then, but they won't change significantly. But you can see we've got another layer of tax, and this is where we get to a potential 43.4% income tax on unearned income. So there will be lots of planning opportunities, I would say starting now, but even through 2013 to try and avoid that. And it's not that you're avoiding it. What you're trying to do is you're trying to manage it. And so the most simple way, one of the most simple ways I think, is if we have people, or you as business owners are going to be in this situation, simply maximizing retirement plan contributions helps alleviate this. Because what happens is retirement contributions bring down your adjusted gross income, which helps determine whether or not you're subject to this tax. So it may be a situation where you're not avoiding the tax, you're just planning around it. Another pretty simple tool, I think, are called installment sales. And so installment sales are where you sell something over a period of time, and what happens is you recognize that taxable income as you receive payments. And by using that tool, what happens is you're now managing your income more throughout the years. Of course, you're also not getting paid until those years. But those are just, two very simple tools as a way to help manage around this tax. But it is going to impact a large number of people. Either people with earned income are going to pay the 0.9% tax, or people with unearned income are going to pay the 3.8%. If in both situations, if their income's over $250,000. So that's the big tax thing that happens in 2013. There are a couple of other smaller provisions. Probably one of them I wanted to point out here is in the slides, having to do with FSA requirements are going to be limited to $2,500. That'll be indexed for inflation after that. But
one of the things related to that particular piece, Clinton, you know, how many of you offer flexible spending accounts to your staff currently? Quite a few. Is that half? Was that half?
I was looking at you, not Tim, so I'm going to say it's 3/4.
3/4, okay. And so historically, the government has not mandated on the unreimbursed medical side, as they have on the dependent care side, a ceiling or a cap to that. So now we're going to be dealing with a cap. A lot of employers that currently operate in the environment of offering flexible spending accounts to their employees have limits that are fairly high. $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 is not uncommon. So for a lot of us as consumers participating in those accounts, I'd say a fairly high number just got that cut by 50% in what their maximum allocation can be. This is also one of those tricky tax year versus plan year. So if you are a May 1st anniversary and your cafeteria plan happens to coincide, because you usually want to line those up with your health plan, and you have a $5,000 historical allocation opportunity for your employees to their unreimbursed medical, you might want to consider adjusting that in 2012. Because what would happen in 2013, well, if you didn't do it, when it changes in 2013, you could actually, as an employer, suffer a negative consequence. Because remember, with FSA, unreimbursed medical account allocations, those dollars are accessible to that participant on day one. So if you left your accounts at a $5,000 limit, they incurred qualified expenses, withdrew that fund, and then tax year, January 1 of 2013, that allocation changes, that ceiling changes. So some of these provisions are going to require you to step back, potentially even a year in advance, depending on what your particular circumstance is.